Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now one thing I'm super proud of are my trucks. I love my buckle lineup, and especially the heavy duty trucks, the semi trucks and the tractor trailers and that type of thing. I like to make them as useful as possible and as easy to operate as possible. So enter the Convoy. This truck I developed while I was actually working away from home on my laptop, where I can't really create massive creations because of its limitation in power. So I was like, I'm gonna do a truck. And one of the most common requests I had was the cabover truck. And it's easy to guess why. Not only are they compact and powerful, they also look great, and I believe that a lot of people that play Stormworks are from Europe, so this is just the truck that they are used to. So I wanted to develop something that was useful, but not overly huge. As you notice, all of my cars are the same width, unless it's a narrower car like a golf cart, but all my street vehicles, my trucks and cars and everything are the same width. 9 blocks wide. So you got 2 for the headlights, 2 here, 1 here, 2 and 2. So they're 9 blocks wide, and I just think this size is optimal for the roads in Sawyer Islands. Of course, if you're driving through the desert, it's not so big a deal, but if you find yourself in somewhere like this, climbing up mountainous roads and whatnot, you will need something that is a little more compact. But I didn't want to give up power for that. So that said, this truck, I believe, has an 11-cylinder engine. Pardon me, it's a 10-cylinder engine. We got our 9 cylinders up here. You see the 3 and 3. And then there's actually 1 cylinder beneath this middle area here. And I find that even with these 10 cylinders, it still operates fairly powerfully, enough to tow trailers at least. Maybe not as good as some of the other trucks, but it still does have enough power to tow. And top that all off with the power mode that I made, the motor boost. So if you're towing a trailer that is equipped with the motor boost, you can much easier climb up all kinds of terrain. So it is an advantage to this truck, regardless of the fact that it has a little bit of a smaller engine than the stockyard. Well, a lot smaller engine than the stockyard. I believe that's a 16-cylinder. And even the Stampede, which is a 12-cylinder. So it is a little less beefy than those. But what I decided to do is, someone asked me on my Discord, this is a Euro truck. And sure, while it is a European truck, because we don't really have cabover designs here in North America, I decided I'm going to retrofit a version of this truck to be kind of for the North American market. And by what I mean by that is it is going to be a little more powerful, and not only that, it is going to actually have a bunk in the back, so it'll have a bed. It'll be a sleeper cab. So follow along as we build this. One interesting thing that we have to do here, because of the configuration of this cab, we actually have to sort of be very careful how we remove parts off of it. And I think that is everything. So we're going to drag this off. This is actually how I built the truck. I built it with the cab off, and then I went ahead and reattached it afterwards on its pivots. So for now, let's just stick with this quite simply. And one thing that we are actually missing is there are these 3 cylinders on the top. They stay on the cab, or on the chassis. They don't actually move because they're fixed there. The engine wouldn't work if they lifted up. And likewise for our exhaust system, that goes right here. And this little system down here, with the exception of nothing. There you go. So that all goes there and ties in. So there you have it. That is basically the chassis, and then this is basically the cab that also lifts up when you are servicing it. Now, how to make it a North American version? My first initial thought is it has to have a bigger engine. So we're going to go ahead and grab this whole front facade and pull it up by 1. Now that that's pulled up by 1, we actually have the space here to not only move our radiator up, as you see here, but we can also add another crankshaft and 3 more cylinders. Now we can't add 4 cylinders because beneath it there is actually some parts that we have to connect. So first things first, we're going to connect this, which is the radiator. Then over here we have the coolant pump. Now yes, we actually might be able to get away with moving this whole thing forward and adding ourselves another cylinder. So let's see if that actually works. If I grab these guys and pull them up, definitely not grabbing that, but pull this forward just like this. Alright, so now it actually is the coolant system is on, and we can add 1 more cylinder here. Just like that. So we've added 1 on the bottom, and this one obviously has its various manifold parts, which is super important. Now this is necessary. You could add a corner piece here, but I mean, we'll just put it there just for the fun of it. But really all you need is 1 manifold for a line of these motors. So now if we count the total number of cylinders here, we got 4 on the top, 4 on either side, so that's 12. And then we got 1 here and 1 here, so a total of 14. So we actually increased the size by 4, which is awesome. Now in this kind of dead area, one thing I want to do first is actually move my indicator light here so it's right next to the wheel. I think it looks nicer in that position. Next we will put symmetry on, add ourselves this little stub there, make everything joined together, and next I think a nice way to show like these, to show steps right here, like steps up to the cab, is just like this. Just gonna put these connector attachments, and yeah, you kind of see that one there, which isn't beautiful, but I think otherwise the steps are kind of nice. So with all this done, we now have some free space here, and we have some pipes that we have to connect. So we can't miss any of these, otherwise the engine will not work properly. But as you can see, that one is connected, and then we moved this up, so there is no need for anything here anymore, and everything else seems to be attached. So inside this extra void area, not only is weight good, but batteries are good, and batteries are good because of the boost system that we added. So now, with more batteries, you actually have more juice to tow your trailer up longer areas. Now just make sure I didn't connect to the hard point there. I did not. I connected it to the battery, so all the batteries are now connected. Cool. So that is in essence the gist of adding the power. Nice and easy. Now we can bring the cab back on and see exactly how it fits in place. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the cab. Definitely don't want to miss the mirror, though it's easy enough to add on, but we'll try to do it in one go. Now that actually still looks cool, like even though the more of the mass or weight is going to be on that front axle because of this, it's not too bad, and still very much a cabover truck. So now we get to the part where we get to build a little sleeper back here. So for that, what I'm going to do is grab some of this stuff, because I know that this still has to be attached, granted moved back a little bit. So we're going to just pull it back to here, get it out of the way while we install our sleeper. So we see the parts in green that are going to lift up with the cab, and then we see the parts in red that are fixed. So one thing that we may have to retrofit, just looking at this, is the exhaust. So I'm going to think about that for later, whereas now I'm just gonna pull it off to the side and see what happens as I naturally kind of build the sleeper bit. One thing I also see problematic is the power and breaker. So I'm just going to pull those off as well to the side here. I guess it's not the power, it's the key to lift up the whole cab. Fill in this crack. Okay, now our engine stays where it is, so that's all good. Now we can put this here. And remember, now we're just filling in the bottom of the cab. So that's how big we need for the sleeper. And then this is the part where the actual rear of the cab comes in. So just have to keep that in mind. Now I'm going to add the bed first. Now how tall do we want the bed? I think this is a decent height, to be honest. We're going to have to put it here and then move it to the left. Otherwise it's going to clamp onto the engine manifold or engine cylinder there. So I'm just going to put it right here and drag it in. Now maybe rotate the head so the head is on the side of the driver, on the driver's side. Now some white pillows and white blankets, and then yeah, that looks nice. Cream colored sheets. Okay, logic would dictate now we add this rear back onto this. One thing we have to verify, even though we've gone ahead and done this, is that there's still enough distance between the connector point and this. But I think there will be. Just glancing at this doesn't seem too off. But one thing that we do have to consider is, even with all this, we still have to plug back into our exhaust. And I don't want the exhaust bit kind of looking weird. So how to do that? Well, if I went the easiest route, and I just make sure I'm not deleting any cylinders here, would be pretty much to put this back almost where it was. I'm going to move it back by 1. So it lines up with the rear of this. Just like that. And now, this one here, we're going to put and attach right there. Now one thing that I would like this thing to have is twin stacks. I wouldn't want to have fake stacks, and I know I could just put a T-joint here and have this kind of go over, so I might do that. But even if it is a fake stack, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. It's more so for the visual aspect. But that said, really, do I need to have... I can easily go ahead and do that. It's not gonna cause much grief here. The only downside is now I can't put the welding tool, and I can't put the connectors and whatnot to lift the cab up. So that's one thing that I have to kind of find a better location for. If I look here, there are no other spaces available. So that's the only reason adding a twin stack is not optimal, but maybe, just maybe, we can add it, but follow a different path. And this is where a little bit of the, call it fun or playing around, comes in. So in this case here, we actually can, and then we just put ourselves a corner piece. So it does that, and just make sure that it works properly. If we delete the bed, we see that it is still all connected properly, and then we just put this piece there. All right, so now call it the path of least resistance. This is now the best place for these ones to go. And now also we can put our welding tool right in the middle again. I'm gonna make it match the original truck, just like that. And then here we put this, and there we have it. So that's pretty much the sleeper portion added, and it's a twin exhaust. So then we just close it off by dragging this back over, And we'll just see how it looks before adjusting it, because I do know there's going to be some adjustments needed. See, we have this, so it's extended by 1. It's too long by 1, which we already knew it was going to be because of the orientation of well, because of this kind of added on bit here. So if we delete that, then it fits, but then it's kind of almost too boxy or too square. So I kind of like that shape or that design, but possibly it can be optimized. How I'm thinking it can be optimized is if we, first of all, move this window to the outside, flip that around, then we can actually just make sure first there's no microcontrollers in here or anything. Once we're certain, we can go ahead and delete all this, exposing this area, and now this should be able to go right over top of the bed, just like that. So now that lines up quite nicely. We'll make sure to merge it to the bed so that all lifts up with the cab. Now, one thing that we have to close off is the either put a larger window in the back or move these lights inward. I actually think I'm going to try moving the lights inward first, and then putting another one of these tall pieces because I just like how they look. I think that it's a nice look, and I know someone said, you know, you could press control. I've been doing that, but the reason I just did that is to make sure the color is the gray that I'm using everywhere. So that kind of looks nice in my opinion. No need for the whole rear to be windows. Now over here, keep in mind the door is what's yellow, so we're gonna have to put cubes going up to here, connecting to here, and probably all this. Now we'll see if we put a spoiler, but what we'll need to also do is put a window. Now I'm just going to stick to a tall one just like that, and we'll go ahead and paint the cabin so it all matches and looks nice. So pretty much I'd say that is mostly what we're looking for. Now inside here we can have the paint job matching, so this trim can actually continue. In fact, it can continue all the way. And then around the windows we have this kind of lighter color, it seems. Well, only on the on this part, not everywhere. So in that case, probably don't even need to do that. Just leave it like that. It's not very cozy. It's quite open in the rear, to the point where I'd probably remove these windows and just close off the whole rear end. But I do like our models to be a little bit different. The stockyard has a very sealed off compartment in the rear. This one could be a little more open if we want. Otherwise, if we put a spoiler or a wind sort of blocker on the roof here, see how that can look, or like an air dam or something. In theory, this would work. Now, depending on the truck and the brand, I've seen ones that are more angled and some that are less angled. Let's try with the 1-to-1 block and see how that looks. That might look the most just natural. Yeah, I'd say that looks natural as far as the air dam's concerned. And actually, because we created that, we could go ahead and put these lights here. And one thing that I think that these lights don't actually have is any kind of aim. They're just going straight. Yeah, they are. I would like to give them a little bit of a downward aim, The reason for that is because it can shine up the road a little bit better. Let's see, make sure this is a regular cube. It is. So I'm going to go ahead and put the aim in here and connect it to both of these lights. And then we just have to aim it down. So we're going to aim it in the Y, -2.2. Yeah, just a little bit, really. And that should be it for the most part. Let's also rename it. So the startup brand, we're going to make the name the Convoy. Now, because it's a bigger engine and it is a bigger cabin, we could call it a sleeper, SL or SP. We could just call it an XL. So if I think about it, I'm just going to call it a Convoy SL. SL for sleeper. I know SL is a brand or a trim that some car companies use, but in my buckle world and lore, SL can be our sleeper. If we go over here, it does look pretty sweet and it doesn't overhang too much. Convoy SL. You see that it has much more power right off the bat. Obviously the front is very heavy, so if you go to turn and brake, you get the rear actually lifting up, but it's not intended to be optimized to be driven by itself. I mean, we can add more weight to the rear, but the point is that when you're driving it in the sense of this, like when you're driving it without a trailer, it's not fully optimized. But let's see, we turn on our dome light, we get our little bunk in the bed, or bed in the back that we could sleep in. That's cool. If we hop out and turn this key, we actually open up the whole engine bay and you have access to all the components, so that's neat as well. We did remove the defibrillator, so I would like to add one back in somewhere. What do we have here? See, we have potentially some things that we can play with. So we can test it out by removing the bed, and then I'm just going to click on this. So we see here that these are all just regular blocks. They had no purpose. I'm holding control, so we can add any type of equipment here. So I would say for one of them, we should add this, and we're going to put it behind the driver's seat here. And then on the other side, a useful thing, well, we already have a welding torch, so we have a fire extinguisher even underneath here, which is always nice. Let's put, well, a rope is the most logical thing. There's no winch though, so I'm just going to put another fire extinguisher, because end of the day that is probably the most useful and helpful. Now in our glove compartment, as always, we have health, so you do have two little health first aid kits, and we don't have anything up here. I do like the other buckle, the stockyard. It has that cool like console on the roof, but here we don't have anything, and I don't really want to put anything up there. Now we just have to put the bed back in, so I'm gonna have to attach it here and then take it off, paste it, and now connect it to the green. So there we have it. Paint this white, this can be the same color as the seat, and that should be it. Now the next thing we'll do is put a trailer on to confirm that this can work with a trailer. Here we are testing out the new Convoy SL, and as you can see, both of these tanks are full, and we're going to do our best to try to get this up the very steep incline. But before that, we're going to see how it does handle in even a straight line. So if we just take it out on the runway here, now this is pulling two trailers, both of which are full of diesel. And if that's without even performance mode on. If we turn performance mode on, we can get up to 100 kilometers an hour and probably even higher. So it does work, especially in a flat setting, but definitely useful and good to have. Now we're gonna see how it can handle the uphill portion. Now I do need to get extra speed even on that, just because I know that 2 trailers, no matter what, is gonna be tricky for any truck. So let's see if we can get as much speed as we can here. And you can see that our batteries are draining, but we did it. Our 2 trailers actually got up all the way. So at this point we'd probably turn this off, let our battery charge up a little bit. But the nice thing is, even with this crazy curvy road and all these inclines, we're still able to use this truck to tow a substantial amount of diesel. Like, this is pretty impressive for sure, I'd say. And of course you have the manual mode. So as with all these trucks, if you find that the gearing is struggling a little bit, you can throw it into the manual mode and you can extract every bit of power that you need. So even here we pretty much were going from a standstill, but using the trailer power. Of course that is not going to happen. So it does have its limitations, that is for sure. That was not intentional, but I think that the trailer and the truck proved itself. So obviously you do have to drive properly and you do have to have skills. The last thing I want to do is see if we can add any weight in the rear end here. Is that a normal cube? Yes it is, so we're going to make that a weighted block. And we'll see if we have anything else. I know we have the batteries. We're going to put a weighted cube here and here. On this side we don't have any space, and that is okay. I mean, better than nothing, right? We could probably fill this area up. So just looks like that, which is fine. But yeah, any weight in the back will help a little bit. What about these? And these? Yeah. So just to make it a little bit more balanced. And I would say that this is ready to be uploaded as a creation. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Hopefully that was as enjoyable for you to watch as it was for me to build. And stay tuned for more content, more creations. I have other things planned. I do plan on making a 2 front axle version of this truck as well. So I'm going to definitely make a video about that as well. And other sort of things that I'm going to be reporting on. So stay tuned for all that. Stay tuned for more creations. Stay tuned for more videos and content. Join the Discord. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe. And as always, happy Stormworksing, everyone.